Hi everyone. In today's video I've got some quick tip ideas for colouring. So I know that quite a lot of people follow my channel for the ScanNCut and they bought the machines because they wanted to use it for fabric and things like that. But they've told me that they've started trying to make cards, or they want to make cards, and they're not always sure where to begin. So what I'm going to do today is just give you some colouring tips. So I'm not sure when you're going to see this video, probably won't be until February, but currently at the moment in my Stampin' Up shop, which you can get to here from my applelover53.co.uk website, you can shop for Stampin' Up craft products, and I like to colour. So the things that I like most are kind of like, you know, open, not too detailed spaces. And I think this is a good way to start card making, because I'm going to show you various different colouring options today, so you could choose whichever one you thought would suit you. And all you really need to do is maybe buy a stamp set and maybe a pack of paper. If you already own a ScanNCut, you can cut these shapes out with your ScanNCut. You can either put, say, you know, something like this, you could put an oval round or a circle, or just get the ScanNCut to cut it out for you, which is what I'm going to do with some of them, because I'm going to make some cards with these once I've done some colouring tips. This particular stamp set is called Playing in the Rain, and it's a stamp set that's available in the mini catalogue, which launched in January and runs right through until I think it's the 1st of May. So it's a good few months. And this Playing in the Rain set is on pages 50 and 51. And to get you started, you know, there's even some samples here that you could follow. But I'm just, as I say, going to do some very simple colouring and show you some different colouring options that are available in various budgets, and it may or may not help you. If you do shop during January and February, for every £45 you spend in my Stampin' Up online shop, you get to choose a free item from the Celebration brochure. Both these brochures, together with the annual catalogue, which runs until May, are all on my Apple Lover 53 website under the Shop Stampin' Up tab to view. Okay, but I'm just going to give you a quick look. So this is Playing in the Rain. So you've got the turtle, you've got the fox, you've got the rabbit. I love this. Rainy days are better with you. You've got some raindrops, some clouds, some flowers, you've got an umbrella, and oh happy day. It's all our red rubber cling. I haven't put all the labels onto the backs of my stamps yet. I just did the 3 so I could stamp some of these in readiness. And then I'll just quickly show you the paper that goes with this suite. So you get 2 sheets of each. This is the front and this is the back. And then you get this one, which would give you some ideas for colouring. So there's 2 of those with the pink and white stripes on the back. You get the raindrops that have got like a kind of clear embossing. I think you can just see the shine there on the page. So that's that. And you've got this lovely kind of like splatter in, I'm not sure what colour that is. I'll have a look in a minute on the back. All our pack of papers tell us what colours are in it. Could be Mango Melody. That looks like Flirty Flamingo. So as I say, these are all 12 by 12 and you get 2 of everything. Here's another one with the pigs and the turtle. Just adorable. That looks like a little dog with an umbrella. That's got the raindrops on the back. Another one with kind of smaller raindrops, but again with like that clear embossing over the top. And then you've got pink and white flowers. And then 2 pages of this one with the umbrellas. Again, the umbrellas have got that like clear embossing kind of glaze on them. I think you can just see them shining there. And lovely kind of yellow and white daisy type flowers on the back. So let's get started. So as I say, to save some time, I've already stamped 3 each of the images from the stamp set. Now, I like colouring with our alcohol blends, but I know, you know, that when you're starting off, it depends what your price range is. Our stamping blends come in a combo pack, which means there's 2 of them in a pack. So for instance, this is Cherry Cobbler Light and Dark. They both have a fine nib on one end and a brush tip on the other. And these are alcohol markers. Now, if you're going to colour with your alcohol markers, you need to stamp with Memento Tuxedo Black. So this is a water-based ink and these are alcohol, so they're opposites, okay? And that's what you need. Stamp your images and let them dry. Now, I did these probably in the new year sometime, end of December, early January. And as I say, you're probably not going to see this video until February. So these have had, you know, a good amount of time to dry. Stamping blends is one option. Watercolour pencils are another option. And again, there's a couple of ways of using these. You can either colour in and then use our blender pens. These come in a pack. I'm not so sure if they're in packs of 2 or 3. And they've got a brush tip on either end. These are not water, okay? So although these are watercolour pens, you can still colour with this blender pen and it smooths out the lines. They're acid free and these work great with the watercolour pencils. You can also colour with water. So you've got watercolour pencils and water. Now this isn't a Stampin' Up product. I've had this years, but Stampin' Up sell these aqua painters, I think we call them. And they're in packs of 3 and they've got different nibs. But basically, you unscrew them and fill this with water, fasten it back up, and then you've got a paintbrush. It says you're having a pot of water on your desk. So again, you can use a water brush with water markers. However, if you're going to use water, then you need to stamp your images in StaysOn, because StaysOn is an alcohol based and you always need opposites. So if you're going to use water, you need StaysOn. If you're going to use watercolour pencils and a blender brush, you use Memento, the same as if you're using the blends. Okay, so there's lots of options. You can also colour with our ink pads. So you can press the lid and squeeze something into the lid, or the way I do it, I take a little stamping block and pick some ink up on the block. And again, you can either use your watercolour pen and once you've stamped in StaysOn, you can colour, or you can use your blender pen and use Memento. Okay, so I know that's probably a lot of information, but I'll do some colouring and hopefully you can see what I mean. So we'll start off with some blends. And just to make this easy, I'm going to use the paper as my inspiration for colours. I might not use the exact same colours, but it will just give me an idea. And like I said, on the back it tells you, so there's Basic Black, Balmy Blue, Cajun Craze, Flirty Flamingo, Mango Melody and Old Olive. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll start with the little turtle guy. So I've got an Old Olive light stamping blend. And as I say, because I'm using an alcohol marker, I'm using my water-based ink. So all of these have all been stamped in Memento. And then we're just going to do a little bit of very quick colouring because I want to show you how using the different mediums will give you a different, not necessarily a different look, but different options. So I'm just going to quickly, this might not be the best colouring in the world. Hopefully some of it will look okay because as I say, I do want to make some cards with these. I'm going to colour his little hands in the Old Olive. I'm just kind of taking my guideline from the paper that I've got on the side here. You know, obviously these are handmade cards. You can colour your turtles whatever colour you want, you know, bright pink, whatever. So that's my alcohol marker. Make sure when you put the lids on that they snap on and that way you know they're sealed. I'm going to bring in my Mango Melody blend and again just colour in, gone out of the lines there a bit, but hopefully nobody will notice. Colour the centre of the little daisy. Just colour his shell. I just think that these images are adorable. I mean, if you followed my channel for a while, you'll know that I love any of the little cutesy animals, because in the main they always tend to have quite big open spaces, and they're easy to colour. So that's a very simple colouring stamped in Memento using Old Olive blend, Mango Melody blend. Let's just colour his little flower. I'm going to use Pool Party. As I say, you can colour whatever you want. So that's one design. So now another option would be to use your watercolour markers. So let's do the little rabbit. So I've got, let's see what we've got. In our catalogue, I think they do 2 sets of watercolour markers. I can't remember what this set is. I don't know if it tells me. But these are all the colours from one set, and then there is another set. So in here we've got Pacific Point and we've got Bermuda Bay. So I'm going to colour the little rabbit, and I think I'll do his jacket in Bermuda Bay. So again, just going to colour his jacket. I don't know about you, but when I was little, I used to love getting those. I don't even know what they were called, and this might even really date me, but I seem to think that they're still around now. Used to get like a great big thick A4 size book, and it had like crosswords in it and word searches, and it always had colouring pages. And I just on a Saturday afternoon when I was little, I just used to love sitting and colouring. So hopefully you can see I've coloured that in. It's not the best colouring, but we're going to use a blender pen now. So again, this isn't water. It's got some kind of, I'm not sure if it's glycerine or something in it. I really can't remember, but it's a blender pen, different to the stamping blends, okay? But again, you can use this with the Memento. So now I'm just going to drag over with this blender pen, and hopefully you'll see that it does what it says on the tin. It blends, and it takes all those pencil marks out. I love colouring like this. Another thing you can colour with, which I didn't mention at the beginning, and when you've coloured, the nib will take on the colour that you've used. So just scribble it out on a piece of scrap paper until it runs clear again, and then it's good to use on another colour. So again, now I'm going to stick with the watercolour, and I'm going to use, this is Daffodil Delight. It might be a bit bright for him, but I'm just kind of trying to keep with the colours that's in the paper, okay? So I'm just doing, and I kind of use the side, I don't press down. When I'm using watercolour pencils or any kind of colouring pencil, I use more of a side angle rather than head on. I don't press on and, blunt or break the nibs. So I'm just going to do as best I can near to how it's showing on the paper. So I'm going to give him some shading, colour his little hands and feet. Just such a cheery little characters these are. I love these. And these, would do for baby cards, adult cards, just thinking of you card. They'd definitely make you smile, wouldn't they, if you got this in the post. Going to bring in the Bermuda Bay and just colour in lightly this puddle. And because I'm using the side, it's applying the colour nice and light. And then I've got, this is Melon Mambo, so we're going to give him a little bit of a pink nose. Then again, I'm going to bring my blender pen in and I'm going to blend this out. So I'm just going to turn this on the side. So again, I'm just going to go over, and that blends out the colour nicely, and it blends out the street marks from the watercolour pencils. So again, I'm just going to rub that on my scrap paper till it runs clear, and then go into the next colour. And look how fun this is. And a pack of blender pens and a pack of watercolour pencils really won't cost you an awful lot. But as I say, I like the stamping blends, the alcohol markers, but I've collected them over a period of time. I've not got them all. I just buy the colours that I like. So that's our little rabbit. Now, as I say, another thing I like to do is colour with a wink of Stella. This is a kind of a glitter pen, but not glitter. It's just a shimmer. And again, you can lay your colour down with a watercolour pencil like I've done, and then you can just go over it and blend it in with your wink of Stella. And again, just clean your nib until it runs clear. So you can colour with blender pens, you can colour with wink of Stella, you can colour with alcohol markers, and you can colour with your ink pads, which is what I'm going to show you next, or a combination of both, because any of these without water will work with Memento. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring in my Blushing Bride ink, and I'm going to see if I can squeeze it and get any ink in the top of the lid. With our old style ink pads, you used to be able to squeeze them and then get some ink in the lid here, and you could use that as a palette. But I find these new ones to be a lot harder. So I'm just going to bring in a little block and pick up some ink. Now again, you can use your wink of Stella or you can use your blender pen. So let's try a wink of Stella, and let's see if we can give this a little bit of glitter on this umbrella. Probably going to need some more ink. You do get a different effect using wink of Stella, but that's, you know, the whole idea of trying these different things, or me showing you how to do these different things, and then you can kind of decide which option you prefer and, you know, spend your money wisely. So it's not as smooth with your wink of Stella, but again, you know, that's what it's all about. So that was Blushing Bride. Now I know Blushing Bride's not in the paper, but I'm just using that colour. So now I'm going to just wipe that off with a baby wipe. And I'm going to use, let's go So Saffron. Again, I'm going to pick up some colour. Now I might just going to do the whole block with So Saffron because I'm going to need more, I think. And again, I'm going to use my blender pen. I'm going to pick up the colour. So this time you can see I'm not laying the colour down with like the pencils or with the stamping blends. I'm picking it up with the blender pen. So let's just colour the hat. Nearly coloured the wrong one then. And again, once the colour starts to wear off, it will go lighter, so you'll start to get shading. So when you initially pick up the colour, it's a little bit darker, and then it will start to go paler as it gets put on the card. So let's just do his little jacket. So I hope that this is giving you some ideas and giving you some different options. I don't think I've ever done a video like this before. I've shown how to colour in I think, in the past, using the blends and your ink pads and that kind of thing, but I don't think I've actually ever done a dedicated video. So you can see as the ink runs out, you can... Now obviously this is, I forgot to say, this paper I'm using is just our thick basic white. So you don't want to rub too hard because it will kind of pill up, you know, with whatever. This isn't running wet liquid, but obviously you're using, like, this is water based. So it will, you know, don't press too hard. So now again, I'm just going to rub the nib until it runs clear. Let's see. In fact, I might use a little bit just on the end of his tail there. Our white shimmery cardstock you can watercolour on, but it's not true watercolour paper, so you know you wouldn't apply a lot of water on that. But we also do sell watercolour paper as well, all in the main annual catalogue. Let's just see, have I got everything? I think I've got everything. Right, so I'm just going to run that clear, clean this on my baby white. And then I need a colour for his body. I think I'm going to use a watercolour pencil for this. This might be a bit too orange, but we'll see how we go. So you can see I'm using a combination of ink pads and watercolour pencils on this, but I'm still going to use the blend to blend it out. Because if you don't blend it out, it doesn't matter how light, you know, you put your colour down, you will see streaks. So if I just go to the blender pen now, and instantly you apply the blender pen, you can see it all just takes those streak marks away. Going to do a little bit of colouring on his face and his ear. I'm looking at the paper and it seems to have a kind of a section here that's not coloured, so I'm going to see what I can do. As I say, I'm not an expert at this. I'm just, you know, playing with colour. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to blend that out. So as the colour starts to come off the blend, blend it out so it's lighter. And again, clean the end of the nib until it runs clear. So that's colouring with alcohol markers, colouring with pencils and a blender pen, and a mixture of colouring with an ink pad and Wink of Stella, an ink pad with a blend, and watercolour pencils with a blend. When I say blend, I mean the blender pen. Okay, so that's just, you know, there'll be loads more. There'll be loads more. I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper and I'm going to do one last stamp, this time using Stays On, so that we can use the watercolour painter. So your Stays On generally comes with a plastic inner lid like this. Make sure you keep that, don't throw it away. And Stays On can be a bit smelly because it's alcohol based, so if you're sensitive to smell, make sure you're using it in a well ventilated area. I'm just going to apply this. There's my image, and I'm just going to quickly clean this while that's drying. So I have a Stays On cleaner that has like a sponge in the end, and you just rub it all over And I like to use my stamping scrub. Everything that I use will be listed underneath the YouTube video if you're watching it on YouTube, or underneath the blog post on my website if you're watching it there. And then you just have to make sure this is dry. So hopefully this has had long enough. It dries pretty quickly, stays on, because it kind of evaporates with it being alcohol. But again, I'm going to bring in the pencils. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to use Pacific Point on his jacket. Same as I did on the other one. Colour in. This colour's a bit darker. I like Pacific Point, and it's not a colour that I use very often, but blue's my favourite colour, so you would think I would do. So I've laid the colour down. This has got water already in it. I'm just going to squeeze it to get some water to come into the tip or the nib of the brush. And then again, I'm not squeezing, I'm just using that water that's on the nib. And as I say, this is an old one I've had years, but Stampin' Up! Do a set, and they've got 3 different brush tip ends. This is probably maybe a bit too big to be using for this small design, but you'll get the idea. And then you just, as I say, don't apply too much water, because our basic white cardstock, even though I am using the thick, is not designed to take a lot of water. So again, I'm going to, but you can see that the black isn't bleeding, and that's because we've used opposites. We're using an alcohol ink and water to colour. And the same with these, we used a water-based ink to stamp the black, and then we used alcohol, so they don't bleed into each other. Again, just using the side of my pencil just to lay down some colour. I think I'm going to go all over his face, but very lightly. Do his hands. And you can see I'm not, well, hopefully you can see I'm not, you know, dead precise laying this colour down. And then again, just making sure this runs clear, and just using the end of the brush. And look how more vibrant that comes now when you apply the water to it. And I'm not squeezing. I've not squeezed any more water out than the initial little bit I put on my hand, just so that I knew that the brush end was wet. That's all I've done. And then I'm just going to blend around his face like so. Clean that. And then again, I'm going to bring in the Mango Melody and give him a little very, very light colouring that you can hardly see of Mango Melody, which is a nice deep pink, but if you only apply it lightly, you get a nice light colour. And then I'll bring in Bermuda Bay. Again, applying it very lightly. You know, the more pressure, the deeper the colour you'll get. I'm just applying it lightly. And then spread that colour around. That's that one. Done with Stays On ink and water. And you can see none of the black has smudged or bled anywhere. And then these are the ones I've done with blends, with water paint, with watercolour pencils, and with ink and a blender pen. So now I'm just going to cut these out with my ScanNCut, and then I'm going to make some cards with it. So I hope you found that helpful. Please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't already do so. As I say, everything I've used will be listed directly under the YouTube video with links to my Stampin' Up shop, which you can also get to from my own website, which you can see on the screen here. But if you're actually watching this on my blog, all the links again will be underneath the blog post. So thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video.